everybody, and good morning. Welcome to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. So we're going over the book by John Maxwell, Talent is Never Enough, and we are on chapter 8 today. So before we jump into that, we're going to go ahead and invite some people onto here. Is that a little hot?
Now it's in alphabetical order.
Yep.
It's interesting.
You know what? It actually switches back and forth. Some days it's in alphabetical order. Other days it's all mixed up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Guys, we only have 600 more people to go. No.
Right. I'm only going to do a few more here because... All right. There we go.
All right, we're here. Jim Bailey's here. David Roeder, what's going on? It's never been enough. Yep, it's never any Friday. It's going to be good. We have a lot to do. So, courage. It says, why does talent need courage? It says the stakes were high for Churchill as he carried out his duties as prime minister. So if you know the story, you know, basically they fought back, decided to resist and not let Germany enter, which was a good move because that basically was the front that basically, you know, helped win the war. A great deal of talent is lost to the world for want of little courage. You know, so basically what it boils down to is to do things, the right things consistently, you're gonna have to make decisions that are uncomfortable, uncommon, and a lot of times aren't gonna feel good when you do them. It says our courage will be tested as we seek the truth that we know may be painful. So sometimes you're going to have to do some things that, you know, in the beginning are painful. In the end, you know it's the right thing to do. It's the lesson, right? The truth that makes men free is, for the most part, truth which men prefer not to hear. So that's actually Hubert Ager. And that's usually true when you're trying to give somebody constructive criticism. And the baseline rule is nobody likes criticism. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And people react to criticism differently. I was taught, like through one of my mentors who's coaching, says if you do need to give somebody constructive criticism, basically what you're going to have to do is sandwich that. And meaning you have to compliment, say, it's compliment, but also ask for permission. You know, do I have your permission to tell you about something that will help you, but you don't want to hear? And if they give you permission, then you have permission to tell them. If they don't give you permission, then just move on. They're not ready. It says most of us will never be asked to face flying bullets in a physical battle. Often, our tests are much more private and involve internal battles, and many people find painful. So, in order to grow, we need to face truths about ourselves, and that is often the most difficult process, and it usually looks like this. So, first one is the issue. Often, it's something we do not want to hear about. You know, any type of criticism we don't want to hear about. 2, it says, the temptation. We want to ignore it, rationalize it, spin it off, or package it. The decision. The decision comes down to grow, we must face the truth and make personal changes. The challenge. Benny's here. What's up, sir? Change is not easy. Our decision to change will be tested daily. Next, the response. Others will be slow to acknowledge it. They will wait to see if our behavior changes. And then the respect. Respect is always gained on difficult ground, and it comes from others only when our behavior and words match. So you have to be congruent in what you're doing. So Winston Churchill said, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen, to be smart enough to listen, right? Mm-hmm. Next, he said, our courage will be tested. It says, when change is needed, but inactivity is more comfortable. And that's the reality. I mean, so often, the feeling of, hey, I'm just going to sit here. Yeah, I know I need to get to some people, but, you can procrastinate it. You can do it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. But it's that consistency day after day after day after day after day after day of presenting where you start finding the right people. It says getting ahead in a difficult profession requires avid faith in yourself. And that's why people with mediocre talent but the inner drive go much farther than people with vastly superior talent. Sophia Loren. It was awesome. She's in a bunch of movies. Our courage will be tested when our convictions, once expressed, are challenged. So people are going to come and challenge you, you shouldn't be doing it, you can't be doing it, you won't be doing it, it's not the right thing for you, people will make you question kind of, or try to get you to question everything. And you just have to kind of go forward. It says anytime you're willing to stand up for something, someone else will be willing to take a shot at you. So you have to know when you jump out into direct sales, MLM. I was on a page yesterday with supposed encouragers. Part of the 10X community, they have a group online. And a couple people posed the question, and this guy was being serious. He goes, look, I've heard all the time that most people don't make it in MLM. Why do so many people join? Why are there so many people involved? And I wrote, everybody had their own opinion of what was going on, and of course mine was slightly different. I said, you have to realize, business isn't just about the financial gain right off the bat. I said, it's about learning how to do business. And I said, for the average person who doesn't know what to get into, learning how to do business is probably one of the most important things you can learn up front. I said, you can do it by leveraging your house, your family, and all kinds of income, or you can spend a couple $100s and get into direct sales and MLM and learn the same exact lesson. And I said, what's interesting is all the people I've seen succeed in MLM have always been able to go into another business and succeed. Always. Like, without exception. I've never met anybody who's been able to build a significantly big organization. Not sales, but actually building a team of people, the majority of their income. I'm talking about like 99% of their income coming from team, not customer base that they built. They've always been able to build another significant business. But I haven't found the opposite to be true. And a bunch of people wrote me back, and now I'm getting 100 friend requests because people are like, well, how do you do that? So our courage will be tested when learning and growing will display our weakness. So that's why a lot of people don't want to go in to start a new project. They might have the experience to do all kinds of things, but all of a sudden there's a new project, they don't have experience doing it, and you'll hesitate to go do it because you're going to look stupid trying to figure it out in the beginning. So George Patton said, courage is holding fear on a minute longer. What? Courage is fear holding on a minute longer. So you're basically just putting it off for a second. You do have the fear. It's just, hold on 1 second. I need to go do this first. Let me get back to you. The difference between a hero and a coward is 1 step sideways. Meaning 1 step forward, 1 step sideways. Gene Hackman. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. It says courage is doing what you're afraid to do. There can be no courage unless you're scared. So it's interesting that fear and courage will exist in the same instant. Courage is the action, fear is the emotion. So, we often mistakenly believe that learning is passive, that we learn by reading a book, listening to a lecture, but to learn we must take action. As Coach Don Shula and management expert Ken Blanchard said, learning is defined as a change in behavior. You haven't learned until you can take action to use it. And that's where fear often comes into play. The learning process can be summarized by the following 5 steps. Observe, act, evaluate, readjust, go back to step 2. So it takes continuous action. Every time you prepare to take that action, fear will come to some degree into play. It is in those times you must rely on courage. It says our courage will be tested when we take the high road, even as others treat us badly. So, especially when you're building a direct sales MLM, in the very beginning, you hear, well, have you made any money yet? How's that thing going? I got told all kinds of things, you'll never make it. We met somebody recently and they're like, wow, the last time I talked to you was right after high school and you were involved in that thing. And I was like, yeah, thank goodness I was involved in that thing. Because that's what taught me how to build all these other businesses. Ironically, this friend's wife was looking to, get into direct sales at MLM. So, the low road, where we treat others worse than they treat us. The middle road, we treat everybody the same. The high road is where we treat people better than they treat us. Like, if you can get into a habit of doing this, you can attract people. It's magnetic. You treat everybody better than they're treating you. And it's irregardless of usually the situation. Our courage will be tested. We begin out front, and that makes us an easy target. So most of the time, if you're leading, you're out front. You should be. And that makes you a target. If you're going to lead the team, if you're going to lead the group, and you're out doing the presentations, you're the one that's going to get told, hey, I don't think, this is for me. It's just, I didn't know it was this. I didn't know it was direct sales. I can't believe this is network marketing. I don't like, all these different things. But you got to be out there to do it. Our courage will be tested whenever we face obstacles to our progress. You might get going, and I've had a lot of people. So there's 2 ways I've seen people get in network marketing. This is kind of funny. The first way is they get in and they don't have any influence, and they have to go through a ton of people. And for most people, it takes them a long time to get started. Most people, it takes a long time to get started. Just to get the self-confidence up, to get the skill up, to make sure the dream is there. And I'm talking about the people who work. So there's a lot of people who come in who never get started. But I'm talking about the people who actually make it that I've seen. There's 2 ways they come in. One is they just come in and it takes them forever to get it going. The second way is they come in, they get it going off of sheer influence, and then they have a hard time getting anything else to work. So they have to learn a completely different set of skills. And that's what I'm talking about, where you kind of look stupid because you had the ability to bring all these people in, but you can't get anything going, which is really interesting. Adversity is always the partner of progress. Anytime we want to move forward, obstacles, difficulties, problems, and the predicaments are going to get in the way. So adversity is just part of it. It's an uphill battle if you want to build anything. You're going to run into people who don't like it. You're going to run into people who get in who are like, oh, this is harder than I thought. Mm-hmm. So, it says, in attempting to learn about the life of someone like Churchill or Eisenhower and believe that certain people are born with courage and basically destined for greatness, while the rest of us sit on the sidelines and simply admire them, but But I don't think that's true, is what John says. I believe that anyone can develop this courage. If you desire to become more courageous person, then here's what you're going to do. So here's the instruction list, right? Look for courage inside, not outside yourself. So most of the time it's an internal thing. And really it's like what's driving you to do this? What's driving you to do this? And a lot of times people have their internal process, their mindset, their internal process is broken, meaning they go to do something scary and they visualize themselves as being smaller than whatever they're doing rather than being larger. I'm like, repicture yourself as the giant in that picture and what happens. And they're like, oh, I never thought of it like that. I'm like, you can think about it however you want to. That's what your imagination is for. So the interesting thing about imagination is imagination both can work for you and against you. Most people's imagination works against them. Most people's imagination allows them to picture situations where they're not winning. I heard something really, really interesting the other day from, he's a podcaster. He also is one of the hosts of the UFC, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. Who's the podcaster? Host of the UFC. I can see his face. I can't think of his name. Dan?
I can't.
Anyway, he basically got this great quote, and it said, think of your life as a superhero movie, and you're the superhero. That's the picture that you're looking for and going after. So the second thing is grow in courage by doing the right thing instead of the expedient thing. Do the right thing instead of the easy thing. Do the right thing instead of what, is simplest necessarily. If you just stick to the task of what you should be doing, the actual right things to do. And that was one of the things, one of my mentors, David Bird, he says, the key to success in what you're doing is finding the half a dozen things, the right things to do, and then doing them consistently over a long enough period of time. So I posed a question. I said, was that it? Is the trick doing it consistently? I'm like, is that where people miss it? He's like, no. He goes, most people never even find the half a dozen things that they should be doing. He goes, your goal is to point out what those half a dozen things are and then help people master them. Most people do not have the ability to narrow down 600 activities down to 6 activities. So he goes on to say, as you strive to do what you know is right, you must also know yourself and make sure that you're acting with integrity and core values. There's a saying that's inside of every individual that there's 6 people that are who you are reputed by, 6 people who are expected to be, 6 people who you were. There are 6 people. They are who reputed to be, you are expected to be, who you were, who you are expected to be, who you are reputed by, who you are expected to be, who you were, who you wish to be, who you think you are, and who you really are. And I can't read this morning, so that's because I haven't had enough coffee. 3, take small steps of courage to prepare you for great ones. So it's all the little steps. People are like, how to become a great speaker? I'm like, how many presentations have you done this month? What does that have to do with becoming a great speaker? I'm going to say this as nice as possible. If you're not in the field, don't ever expect to be an amazing speaker. Mm-hmm. It takes being in the field. It takes getting beat up. It takes the scary stuff. That's who people want to learn from, is the people who are in the field. The people who play it safe and behind the scenes, which are great people too. It's rare that those are the people who are the greatest, at speaking and building and doing things. It's rare. I mean, there are exceptions to every rule, but the exceptions are so small. And typically it's because they built somewhere else. They built somewhere else. If you became a professional... There we go. So, 4, recognize that leadership position won't give you courage, but courage can make you a leader. So leadership has a lot to do with courage. It says leadership is the expansion of courage that compels people to do the right thing. Bill, what's happening? 5, watch your horizons expand with each courageous act. What happens is that every time you go out and do the stuff that you're supposed to do, what it does is it opens another door in the right direction. Most of the problem people have is they're just not doing enough to open these doors. People are watching, is the other thing. Courageous leadership simply means I've developed convictions that are stronger than my fears, vision that is clearer than my doubts, spiritual sensitivity that is louder than the popular opinion, self-esteem that is deeper than self-protection, appreciation for discipline that is greater than my desire for leisure, meaning you're going to do what you're supposed to do rather than what's fun and easy and entertaining, dissatisfaction that is more forceful than the status quo, you're doing more than what everybody else is doing, poise that is more unshakable than panic, 8 is risk-taking that is stronger than seeking safety, the right actions that are more robust than the rationalization of sitting at home doing nothing. I put that in. 10, a desire to see potential reached more than to see people appeased. Too many people are out there playing it safe, not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they're trying to not only make it easy for themselves, but they're trying to appease all these other people. See, look, I'm good, I'm in, but I'm not really struggling like the rest of, I know you were worried about me struggling, so I'm not really going to work that hard so it doesn't appear like I'm struggling, so it doesn't put me in an uncomfortable position, right? So people rationalize all that. And I only know that because I did that, right? And that's what we got for today. That's chapter 8. It's Friday. Monday, we will start with chapter 9. Franny, what do you have to add? Courage?
I think that's pretty much it. You kind of covered everything. And when it comes to courage in building your business, it's just you need to be able to do the work that's necessary and not be afraid of what other people's opinions are going to be. And it's kind of funny because we were actually talking about this yesterday of how doing your presentations actually makes you more confident. And it's funny how people will struggle to share what they're doing with their friends and family in the beginning because they're like, they feel self-conscious about it because they're like, oh, what are they going to think? Are they going to judge it? Are they going to tell me this is dumb? And it's funny because once you actually start going out and doing leads and doing your presentation consistently, your posture changes. And then when you go to those people, your confidence is very different. So the only way to really have confidence and courage is by doing the scary things first to then get that posture of being so confident that it's like, you know what, I don't need you, but I'm going to share this with you so that way if you run into somebody, you can refer me. And it's kind of funny because until you get to that point, some people won't actually join you that until you get to that point where you're like, you know what, honestly, I don't care if you get in, but this is what I'm doing. And if you want to join me, great. If not, oh well, I'm going to build this with or without you. It's your choice. And it's funny how once you get to that point, then some people will jump on just because your posture changed. So with that, that's basically what we have for today. So we will see you guys on Monday for Chapter 9, Teachability Expands Your Talent. So with that, we will see you then.